Welcome to the show, everyone. This episode, we have Mr. Brandon Garrett from southeastern Texas. Thank you for being here, my friend.
Hey, glad to be here.
Well, like most of us, we didn't have the joy of growing up and having squatchers for parents or anything like that. So what was that like for you?
It was just a normal thing to me, but that's what I knew. But some people thought it was a little odd. see me sitting in the school library in elementary school reading a book about Bigfoot, and kind of everybody else is reading stuff totally different things.
Yeah, like Spider-Man and Batman, right?
Right.
Well, what was your first Bigfoot experience like as a kid?
The first sighting I ever had was in this park where my dad, mom, and everybody knew that they went through there. We was just out there on family thing, just out there. They were all walking down this road, and I was riding my bike. I was 7 at the time. I was up ahead of everybody else. And there was one, kind of like, what the hell, There's one standing there on the edge of the woods, kind of I'm on the road, and then there's kind of a bushy clearing. It used to be clear cut, but then it's kind of grown up. You can see through it real clearly, and then there's the dense woods there. And I just kind of slammed on the brakes on my bike, and kind of hairy man, Dad, hairy man. he still makes fun of me about it, but
it's kind of like you really saw a monster from one of the movies, right?
Right, kind of, yeah. I know what it is. It wasn't anything I didn't know was real. I already knew about them, so it wasn't like a big surprise.
Yeah,
it was just like kind of a shock. Like, I'm actually seeing one. I've heard about this. I know about this. There's one kind of thing. That's like the best way I could describe it.
Do you remember what it actually looked like?
I remember it was black. That's really much as I remember.
It was actually eating something, correct?
Yeah, it had like a rabbit. I started screaming, hairy man. Yeah, I remember it breaking a sapling and going into the trees. And my dad was running up the road to where I was at. So they were a little bit farther behind me, and I think he got a glimpse of it right as it was going into the trees. So after that, I've pretty much been in the field my entire life. So
yeah,
that's when I really got into it.
What was your next encounter, and how old were you when you had your second encounter?
I forget how old I was. I was probably about 10, 11, right in that area.
Yeah.
But it was up in Colorado, camp trailer, and something started shaking the camp trailer. In my mind, I'm thinking bears out there, but then later on, I started thinking about it. That wasn't a bear.
The funny thing about everything is a lot of people, when they have one encounter, it's like they can go to another state and have a whole bunch of encounters. Like even me, when I was growing up, my first encounter was in a different area other than where I lived. And then later on, when I got older, all my encounters were actually where I grew up. But it's actually not an uncommon thing for someone to have an encounter in one state and go somewhere else and have another. Do you think that's maybe due to there's a larger population than we think there is?
I believe there is a much larger population than what's estimated.
In your opinion, how many do you think there are in North America?
Oh, I couldn't put a number on it. I don't even know how many people are in North America.
Yeah.
So, but I would say, for instance, in Texas alone, in my area, Southeast Texas, I would guess, several hundred family groups, depending on where they're at, where the locations anyway. I mean, you're not going to find one downtown Houston.
Yeah, or Austin.
Right, but some of my, one of my areas, one area alone, there might be within 1 square mile, while I'm in the field, probably if one family group comes through hunting, there might be a group of 3 to 5 right there. Now I've heard them hunting. I actually listened to them kill a pig one time, and I couldn't count how many voices I was hearing, but there was I would guess about 6 to 7 voices that I was hearing, different, and that was just in one camp, one square mile. I mean, not even that big.
Yeah.
They were just across the river from me.
Well, you know, our friend Joe, you know, in his particular area, there's at least 7 or 8 of them around him at all times.
Yeah, because we work the same area. Actually, I think I'm the one who should have shown him where it was at.
Yeah. And your opinion, you know, like when it comes to these groupings and things like that, do you find it's different in the way that sometimes you might have larger groups, but do you ever encounter groups that are much smaller, where it's just maybe a male and a female and maybe some young ones?
Yeah, I've encountered a group of just 3. They were all hunting together. It was obviously a family group, with a male, female, and a adolescent. But generally, when people see one, generally, I mean, this isn't the case every time, but generally, there's multiple in there. That's just the one you happen to see.
Exactly. Maybe you found this in your studies, but have you always noticed that people really, they tend to be kind of stuck in the 1980s with that whole, well, there's maybe about 12 of these things in North America, and then it's shy and elusive, and it won't hurt you. It's going to run away from you.
There's only one that travels all over the place.
Yeah. And another funny thing is how, like 100 years ago, apparently a bunch of circus trains were derailed, and now we have these little monkeys running around all over North America now. That's another thing I hear quite often.
Double monkeys, yeah.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. How many types of Bigfoot do you think there are in Texas, and how many of those have you actually encountered?
I'm thinking from my experience and from my research, in Texas alone, we probably have about four distinct types, maybe 5. I just don't, I don't know how to categorize 2 of them to get if they're separate or they're the same thing. Variations. You got the classic patty type, then you have the dogman type that people see, and then you have the double monkey type things, and then you have these that look similar to, in a way, not exactly, but similar in a way to like Chewbacca from Star Wars. Best way I could describe it, which I think is kind of the skunk ape type. Maybe it's just a different species or variation of that.
Yeah, it seems now, and, when I kind of really got into this, people kind of put them into like these type classifications, but it's almost like you had to put it more of a classification group, because sometimes some of the appearances don't fit the bill.
Yeah, there's a lot of different classifications that are used by different people. Some of them I agree with in some ways, and some of them I don't. I mean, it's just, some of them are just easier for me. I kind of classify my own, I kind of have my own classification kind of thing. You understand what I'm saying?
Have you ever heard the term roundhead before, and what does it maybe imply?
Roundhead? I've heard it before. Just roundhead. I mean, best I can give to it. I mean, I'll take a lot of that too literal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, you'll have somebody swear to God to you that every single one of them looks exactly like Patty, and no, they don't.
No, they don't. And which in your research, which type do you seem to encounter the most, and which one do you think is probably the most populated in the state of Texas?
It really depends on the habitat. When I'm in the swamp areas, rivers and stuff, it seems to be more of the Chewbacca type looking thing. In woodlands, I kind of get both, either the Patty type or the dogman type thing.
And that's the one with the snout, correct?
Right, the snout and the pointed ears on top.
Yeah, like the Beast of Seven shoots, like that particular photograph.
Yeah, similar to that. But I think there's variations in that as well. I don't know. I couldn't tell you that they're actual dog man per se. Bamboo or baboon kind of has a similar characteristics, so in the face. So I mean, we can't say that, but I do believe to some extent that's where the